Hello there, and as usual, I'm Aaron from LastStandGamers, and welcome to Sci-Fi Engineering. You're probably wondering, what's Sci-Fi Engineering, Aaron? Well, this is a new series where I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks on how to build. Now, I'm not the best builder out there, and that's why I thought it'd be a good idea every now and then to get some different people on here with different sorts of building styles, so you guys can really learn a lot from this series. Now, the first thing I want to talk about today is building exterior of the ship. We're going to take it from concept. I'm going to show you some different styles of how we can indent things, we can define different areas of a ship, and just really give it some style points, because something that you guys talk about a lot is you build a ship and it just looks like a box. Now, a box is not a bad thing. The Borg cube is a brilliant sort of box, for instance. That is just a mash of technology that's all been sucked into one very compact, simplistic cube design. But we maybe want to take it a little bit further. So before we jump into the meat of this video, I want to show you a few different ships for inspiration. Now, the first one up here, just notice how it has this constant line from the front of the ship to the rear, and how it slopes and smooths into each of the areas. Well, something that they've done that is quite ingenious here is they broke them up, and they broke these areas up by creating a very strong sort of line of definition, and they've done this by cutting areas back. You can see it at the front very clearly, and also in the circular pattern they've actually cut the blocks away and left that very nice circular area exposed, and they've changed the two colours of the area. So we've got the black and the white. That's two contrasting colours that add a lot of depth into that darkened area, and they've not just left that depth area plain, they've added construction sort of workings. We've got some manglings of metal towards the rear there, and also towards the front we've got some lighting that they've added there to possibly mean windows or a crew quarters. Just a really nice piece of engineering. But let's move on. Now, next up we have the Star Destroyer from Star Wars, and I want to show you that I am not biased to the round ships. I'm a little bit biased, but you can see how this has very sharp corners. It's very edgy in design. Well, not edgy, it's actually quite literally edgy. But you can see throughout the side we've got these little indented areas that act as hangar bays in different areas. And remember, a design doesn't just have to look good, it has to function well indeed as well. So up on the top area we've got the house and the command room. I call it the house, I think it looks like a little bit of a temple up on the top. And just look at each level of that structure, how they've added all that detail into the side. And these large flat areas of this triangle sort of structure as well have been heavily detailed. They've been risen up in areas, lowered down in others. So when it comes to working with a plain canvas, don't leave it plank, raise it up, slope it down, add a little bit more detail to it. Let's move on to another ship though. So the first thing I want to talk about is a building technique that is very useful, and it involves planning your build from the inside out. Now, I've built many ships, and the problem I have is sometimes I build them and it looks really nice, but I can't fit the actual things I need into it. So we've just got a basic engine bay here. I'm going to show you some different things that we could do with this. Maybe we wanted like an industrial sort of idea. So what I've actually done here is to make this look more industrial, I've tried to keep the original shape as possible. I've used semi-constructed blocks. Now, using semi-constructed blocks allows you to see into the actual mechanics of it, what's inside, so you can see the hydrogen tank and the conveyors, so it gives this very industrial look. Now, maybe we wanted a bit of a smoother ship, but we still want to keep that industrial vibe. Now, something I like to do is called ribbing, and you can add a rib to this sort of thing, just making it look like it's reinforced. So you can see we've got this pillar area coming down, and something we can do to make this look even stronger is actually change the shape of that rib. So if we actually add a red to this is going to look a little bit silly, I think, but it'll show the purpose. We can actually rib that out, and it'll just give it a little bit of distinction from that two other colours. Something that would look nice here is a colour that would contrast with that grey very well. So if we just go back to our colour chart and we pick something like that dark grey, that's something that's much more likely to contrast with that grey as well, and just really hit off the design. So that's like a purpley grey tone in colour. Looks quite nice. We just have to work out and see what colours would work well. And here's some more semi-constructed blocks. Something that people really take for granted here is this wheel block. I'll just place one on the side here. When this wheel is actually cut down, it can look like a whole variety of different things. So you could have like a semi sort of pipe that's connecting two things. It could just be a disc that sits on the side. But now we've seen some basic ideas to get your creative sort of juices flowing, let's actually build or focus on building some corners of the ship, some edges, and how we can make them a little bit more detailed. So the next situation I want to show you is a builder's got to the edge of their design and they've just put a straight corner like that. And now imagine if this is the side of your ship, it's going to look very square. It just doesn't feel right to me. It feels really wrong. Now maybe we have to have that square sort of design, but how can we change that? Well, one of my favorite things to do here is actually make a little bit of an overhang. So we can do this by picking a few blocks that we like. Say for instance the light armored slope, these ones are good for creating an overhang, and we can also use this block as well. And what I'm going to actually do here is just be really gentle and slide this block along the top. So this adds a little bit of a slope to that corner, and it's still not looking very good, so we're going to add a number 2 to the side there. I'm just going to start working in that detail to this edge. So what I'm doing now is I could have this in a whole variety of ways. I could have it like this, so that edge actually comes over the side like that, and then I can start adding more detail. So I could actually add a trench into this section here and just add a whole variety of detail to this area of this ship if I wanted to. But I could also have this block in another sort of function. Instead of having it that way, I could have it like, for instance, let's have a little bit of a rotate here and see what we can get. So we can rotate it 3, 2, 1 and bring it back around to, I think, that way. Yeah, there we go. So we could also have the edge of the ship looking like that. So this looks quite nice. You see how we've got this ridge sort of edge coming to the end of the ship now, rather than that sort of flat corner I just really didn't like. And by changing the colours up of these, so we can change that to maybe a darker grey or a black within this trench. So just colour that in, and we'll re-whiten this outer area. You can see how we're adding that little bit of definition to that corner, that ridge, and adding a little bit more effect to that ship, making it look a whole lot nicer. But we can take that to the next level. So we've got that black area with it contrasting down, and in here we can start adding even further detail. You've always just got to keep thinking of what's next. So we've got these round blocks that not many people have many uses for, but if we paint one of these white, for instance, and we place it in this section, maybe rotate it like this can look like some sort of radar buoy, or just a fine piece of detail work from a distance away. You can see how we're creating that effect there. Maybe you could have 2 or 3 more of them as you're going along, but just really accessorize your ship and work different concepts into the design. But let's move on a bit from that. I've given you the idea of how you can ridge and bring shapes away from that standard sort of corner design. So the next question I get is, how can I round off my design? How can I make my ship look rounder instead of being square? So we showed you how to just create a little bit of detail in before, but we're just going to cut that block off. I'm going to start working on this corner. So the corner and the size of the corner is going to affect what sort of blocks you have using. I'm going to use a modded block here because I can't be asked sticking these 2 blocks together constantly. I find that's just really annoying. It'd be nice if there was just a block like that available. So on the corner, you can actually start working this in. So for instance, I'm just going to cut this corner off completely like so, and then between that gap, I'm going to add this block. So just rotate that into place that back across that rim, and then I'm going to follow it up by creating this. So you can see we've already got this corner going into the design, but something you will notice is that when you start adding corners like this and you round them off, you're starting to get a spaceship sort of shape, but at the same time you are losing some of the details, so you're going to have to throw it back in later on. So what I'm going to do is get a standard sort of block out here, throw that down the side, and we've got ourselves a very basic corner added to that ship, just curving it up, making it look a bit more sexy. But let's add a little bit of detail here. I'm going to add some more round sort of detail. So this is the end result, what we've came up with. I've combined a few different things. We've got the ridges along the top from the rigid sort of our design ideas, and we've also got the recessed areas. Now something you can also do is add a little bit of lighting like this to contrast the 2 areas. So you can see from a distance how it has that blue tint to it, and it's just very well defined. I'm not a big fan of these ridges in this particular area. Maybe if it was a hangar bay it would look a little bit better. Well, this is the thing, you try something out, you're going to keep evolving it and keep working on that area. The problem is with this though, is you'll keep working on an area until you're happy with it, and then you've got to do the exact same 20-30 minute process with the next section of the ship as well. Now with this, you've just got to visualize what you could use it for. Say for instance, I could extend this panel out here and have this as part of shielding on the side of a ship, or I could even cut the top part of the bracket off and maybe round off the corners and have this as some sort of engine base shield as well. Just use your creation, use your imagination, and you can reuse similar parts for different things if you have to. Now the next thing I want you to look at is shapes that can be moved, stacked and manipulated with the copy and paste tool. Now if you're building in survival, you won't have this option, but if you've got something like this, you can see I've just copied and pasted this section of the ship here, and I can do a lot of different things with that. I can bring a second piece, maybe perhaps under here, copy and paste this, and then clip this part onto this bit, extending the actual design downwards a level if it will clip on. So there you go, we can clip something like that together, create a front, the side, the rear of a ship, or we can use it to create something like this where an engine bay. And the second thing that I want you to do is have a look into the design, what you can actually insert into it. So say for instance, I have a look for a cargo bay inside here. Now my mouse has died and it's re-responding, so cargo bay. Let's have a look there, there's one. So we've got this large cargo container, and what we can do is we can just cut out a section like this and insert that cargo container there and use that to create some detail within the design as well. You can see it looks too big there, so what I'd recommend doing is cutting this block 1 back, cutting a small hole for this cargo container, and then just inserting it into that small hole there, and this should look quite nice. Let's rotate that around so the text is correct. And then we can just do this along the ship. Now another thing is I don't like is these sharp sort of ridges. Maybe if there's a catwalk here, you just got to keep thinking on your feet as you're building what would look good. So maybe there's a catwalk because the people have to come along and maintain the cargo containers. I don't know, you could just be creative. It's really fun when you get down to it, and you'll find yourself bumping from one idea like this into another and another as long as you're flowing. Another problem that a lot of people have is they try to build from nothing. Like, you'll just stand here and go, oh, what sort of ship should I build today? There's nothing out there that's going to inspire you here. You've got to literally look around the room. Say, for instance, now there's a contour camera on my desk, and it has a really sort of round end, but at the same time, it sort of recesses in. So now I'm going to build that contour camera into an engine. So let me have a go at this. So in this sort of first step of building this contour camera into an actual engine bay, I've just got the rough sort of shape, and I'm just sketching it out. So I'm grabbing the blocks I need, and I'm just sketching that rough sort of shape. So if you've got a contour camera, or you've seen mine mounted on my AK, it looks something like that. And that's not too effective, but you can see how we could turn this into an engine bay. We just need to smooth up the sides. So let's actually start wrapping the armor around the side into this area. So this is the end sort of result came up with. Combination of two things, and the idea all just came from having a quick look at that contour camera on my desk, that original shape. The other side's not yet completed, but you can see I've just basically worked in a few different blocks, cut some blocks away to add the semi-constructed or sort of reinforced scaffolding sort of position to it. I've left other areas exposed, and I've created what looks like a very simple engine bay that's very ready to be sort of clipped, you know, to another ship. So I could simply add that to the side of a ship and I'd be good to go. It's square, it's rectangular, not super oval. Or I could even use something like this. Like, I've already built this one over here before you saw me build this, and if I just cut across the top like this, take off that block as well, I can actually copy and paste that back in, spin this around, and turn that into a double engine bay ready for some sort of alien ship. But you've just got to keep copying and pasting, moving things around, changing the shape of thing, and you will find your shape, you'll find your style of building in particular. And this style is particularly my own. It just tends to be a lot of moving shapes around and feeling what's right, and you'll have your own sense of feeling what's right in building. So I do hope this video has helped you in a way, rather than me just rambling on about various sort of building techniques that I particularly like to use. But I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.